This episode of the What's Happening Delco podcast is sponsored by Delco Meets for Business. Check us out on Meetup at Delco Meets, the number 4 business, and attend one of our incredible networking events. Be sure to register, and we'll see you there. What's happening, Delco? I'm Rich Shane, and welcome to the What's Happening Delco podcast. Today, I'm joined by Alex Becker of Delco Unplugged. Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Rich. It's great to be here.
Alex, what is Delco Unplugged?
So, Delco Unplugged is a parent-led grassroots volunteer group here in Delaware County. And we're really focused on helping families really push back against the pressure to give their kids smartphones and social media too young. Over the past year or so that I've been doing this work in the community, I've heard, countless times, I really wanted to wait longer to give my kid a smartphone, but it just felt like all their friends had one. And I didn't want them to be left out. So with other neighbors in my community, I have younger kids. A lot of my neighbors have younger kids. Kind of were like on a neighborhood group text saying, look, what if we just made a pact? Some of us read this book called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. And that came out, I think, spring of 2024. And that really kind of blew the doors open. I think parents all of a sudden started to realize there's so much data now that's kind of showing that kids really are not ready for this technology so young. And I think that's really hard to hear, especially for someone like me. I grew up, I'm a millennial. I was really excited about technology. I got my first smartphone was a BlackBerry. I got it in college. I was an early adopter of every single technology, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, you name it. But again, this was the early wave. This was early 2010s. But the kids who were about 10 years younger than me were getting this technology, I think, before they were really able to kind of process it and understand some of the things that they were seeing. And I think now, 10 years later, we have the data of really what happened. And that's what the book Anxious Generation really showed me and millions of people who've read this book across the country. I think that book has been at the top of the bestseller list for 70 weeks or something. So if you're listening to this and you haven't read it, I highly recommend it because it's extremely eye-opening. Half of US kids have a smartphone by age 11. And among children 8 to 12, 40% are already on social media. And for kids age 13 to 17, that jumps to 95%. And kids are reporting that they're on social media almost constantly. And, research is showing, even 3 weeks ago, a study came out that said the younger your child gets a smartphone, the worse off their mental health will be. 12, you'll have certain outcomes. You're X amount likely to have major depression and anxiety. Even younger, you are even more likely to have major depressive symptoms, suicidal ideation. This is really scary stuff. And especially for someone like me who was so optimistic about technology. I even worked in tech for a couple of years as a researcher. And I think that my eyes were I felt so shocked. And again, at the same time, I felt like I had started to notice things. I noticed behavior in my own self. I knew that I had started feeling bad after spending time on social media. Throughout my, mid to late 20s, I would notice that I just would start feeling really anxious after spending a lot of time on Instagram or even TikTok. And I noticed those own feelings in myself. And I started thinking, how are kids supposed to deal with this? My brain is fully developed now. And I'm even noticing that I'm having a really hard time putting it down sometimes. I'm having a really hard time figuring out why I feel sad or mad. And I can't imagine what it would be like to be 12 and not even really know. And again, you're going through so much at that age. It's such a hard age. I know this because I used to teach 5th grade. It is a really, really challenging time to be a human when you're 11, 12, 13, and to be also dealing with what social media is showing you. Constant comparison to kids in your class. Oh, wow, she's really pretty. Like, why don't I look like that? Or kids not inviting you into the group chat or taking a picture of you in an embarrassing moment and sharing it with the whole school. Like, kids aren't really able to escape these things, and they're constantly being, perceived by each other. And like, it's really like shocking actually thinking about how this technology is being used now compared to how it was being used then. And again, like, algorithms are totally different now. Like, the way that tech companies are designing these devices to like really keep kids' attention, and really kind of like prey on them in really vulnerable moments, it's really disturbing. And these are things that unfortunately I had a look into when I was working in tech, and it really, again, like, it really disturbed me. I went back to the public sector. I work as a researcher back in the public sector now. I couldn't, it didn't sit right with me. And so as all this was happening, I read this book. I'm talking to a lot of parents in the community. Um, Delco Unplugged really grew out of that. So our goal is to really help parents stand united together, and help each other make a choice to kind of delay. The idea is to delay. So I just want to kind of um, confirm here before anyone gets the idea. I'm not anti-technology. I use technology every day. I have a smartphone. I have an iPad. I have a laptop. These are all things I use all the time. Again, with my own kids, I'm really trying to do as little as possible. But for myself, like, I use it and I'm aware that's a very helpful tool. Technology can do amazing things. But when it comes to our kids, I really think we need to be very intentional about when we give them access to it. The internet is a very scary place, and kids really just are not ready for exposure like that so young. So the idea behind Delco Unplugged is to kind of give parents a way to kind of come together and say, together, we're deciding we are going to wait and we're going to support each other. Because when you're the only kid in a class of fifth graders who doesn't have a phone, that feels horrible. And as a parent, that feels horrible because your kid is lonely and isolated and they're being left out. But what if it's half the kids? What if half the kids don't have a phone and the other half do? Then it's really not so bad. And it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe like something's starting to shift here. And then maybe it's 75% of kids don't have one. And then only like a couple kids have one. And then like later and later and later, the idea is to kind of make middle school this um, like kind of reclaim childhood, right? Like, let middle school be like phone free. Like, let kids kind of like embrace flip phones again. They can call each other, they can text each other, but they don't need to be doing all of the other things that smartphones open to you. So let me stop there because I feel like I really rambled, but and you can ask me to kind of dig into whatever would be helpful next.
You didn't ramble because with Delco Unplugged, there's a lot to talk about. We met you at Dining Under the Stars in Media, and we had a really long conversation amongst people coming up and wanting to know, like us, what is this all about? And when you start to unpack this, it's not just, well, they don't get a smartphone. It's what is the impact? And you touched on it here in a number of ways. Number one, the children in the classrooms, the children in their peer groups, and then the parents, because there's that pressure for the parents too. Oh, what do you mean you don't give your kids a smartphone? Or yeah, why are you abusing your children like that? Don't you want to know? Don't you want them to know things in the world? And I think now, also with AI and AI agents and how we're starting to integrate those as our personal assistants, it's even more for kids to say, well, I need this now too. Everybody has it. We're doing our schoolwork with it. So there's so much that you said there. The group itself, when you talk about the age group, you said middle school. So are you suggesting that, let's say 13, 14, 15, 12, 13, 14, what is that point where you say, you know what? We get it that this is now a world that is open and vast, and maybe this is the point in time or age where you're able to grasp this better and be able to adjust to it better.
Yes, so glad you asked. So we say that minimum ninth grade for a smartphone. So like 14, but again, everyone turns 14 at a different time. So wait until high school. So wait until you go to ninth grade. Before then, You should totally communicate with your friends. Get a flip phone, get a smartwatch. Like, again, I would love for parents to bring like the Nokia brick phone back where kids like playing Snake and Breaker. Like that was like, those were great phones. But that's really all you need, right? Like, let's bring back talking on the phone because this is a skill that kids really need. Like, I don't know if you have any like preteens in your life. I do, and they're terrified to talk on the phone. And it's a necessary skill. Like, let's talk to each other again. Let's learn how to do that. Bring back a landline. Like, I am all about that. You can get Wi-Fi landlines now, the modern landline. I am all about this. A company we use, it's called UMA. You plug in something into your internet router and you can just have a phone. And our 4-year-old calls his grandparents and it's adorable because he hangs up on them because he doesn't know what he's doing. It's so cute. But I really think that this is like critical. Like give your kids a way to communicate with their friends, but it doesn't have to be a smartphone. And then the idea is so like ninth grade for smartphone, 16 for social media. Now it's really tough. So in between that, people might say, well, when you give your kid a smartphone, aren't you immediately giving them access to social media? That's where it gets tricky. Kids are very savvy when it comes to getting around parental controls. And we know that because there are 11 and 12-year-olds on social media, even though you're not supposed to have social media accounts that young, but they get around these rules because they're very, very smart. And it's really about like having conversations with your kids and being very, very aware of what they're doing on their phones and having really, really strict parental controls. And that's something that we try to do with Delco Unplugged is talk to parents about how to have these conversations with your kids and what kinds of, kid-friendly devices can you give them and what's a good type of device to start with. This is all on our website. We have a whole alternative devices page, and we're actually hosting an alternative devices fair in November with a bunch of other school districts across the Philadelphia suburbs. It's called the Greater Philly Alternative Device Fair. So we're really excited about that. Really just an opportunity for parents to come out and see, oh, I don't necessarily have to get my kid a smartphone. There's other options. And I think for a long time people thought maybe an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy, like that was the only option, but it's not the case. Um, so yeah, that's the basic core tenets, 14 for smartphone, 16 for social media. And again, if you want to wait longer, amazing. My 4-year-old will sometimes, I talk about this with him and he has no concept of this yet, but I'm like, listen, just so you know now, it's not happening until 16. Like we're just going to start there and we'll see what happens again. I have a lot more parenting to do. My kids are still really little. But we're just gonna, things will evolve, but I know that I'm just not comfortable with it until they're in high school.
You talk about 16. 16 and a half is when you would get your permit for driving. And society doesn't say, well, I'm working and we don't have time, so I'm going to give my kid the keys to the car at 8. And just the responsibility is as the parent, well, I'll teach them how to drive and mistakes will happen, but at least they'll learn how to drive earlier and they'll be so much more experienced by the time their friends and all that turn 16. I think there's a parallel here that perhaps the way the flood of technology has come to our world that we didn't look at and say, all right, well, if you're not able to drive until you're 16, half 16, 17, and you're not able to be a part of the voting world until you're 18 and drinking until you're 21, why can't we start to say that smartphones, you have to wait? And I think that from this conversation, it's really that uncomfortable situation of a parent having to say no and not want to be put in that position. And even probably when they're on the sidelines watching the kids play soccer or, sports and, hey, Alex, I hear you're not giving your kid a smartphone until they're 16. And, even that may become some sort of that defense mechanism, or really what they're looking to find out is, how do I do that too? Or
Mm.
what are your thoughts surrounding that? But there's that controversy as it comes out right away. So I just think that where you are now with Delco Unplugged in its infancy, where the kids are, if they're 12, 14, that age, even younger and they already have been experienced with smartphones. I think it's just a matter of trying to figure out how do you regulate and how do you temper that. But you're
Mhm.
meeting those, like you said, your child is 4. That I just marvel when I'm in the supermarket or a Wawa and I see the kid running around with mom or dad's smartphone, and that just keeps them quiet, or that just takes care of them while they're doing that. But there's, like, again, there's so much out there, and all you need to do is make a few clicks, and you're seeing stuff or experiencing stuff or talking to people that you shouldn't even know or you shouldn't even see. So I think when you start at that infancy and you have that groundswell, I think what you're doing is you're setting the ripples on the pond, and that's going to get bigger, and it'll become easier for Delco Unplugged and those other groups to say, this is the wave, this is what we do, and this is how we've taken our society back and given our kids a chance.
Yeah, you bring up a couple of really interesting points there. It's so important to talk about this too, because it is really tricky in this time when all this research is coming out and people are talking about this, and there's these conversations happening on the sidelines, like at the PTO meeting, after school, at the playground, um, when, you have to come to grips with the fact that someone is making a different choice, and you might even feel judged a little bit. And that's something that I from the beginning, it has been really, really important to me that this feels as extremely inclusive as possible, because we know that this is all happening so fast. All this information is coming out so quickly. Parents are having to like make these decisions like in real time. And like there's a friend of mine who is very close supporter of Delco Unplugged, gave her daughter a cell phone at 12 because it was like a something that she and her husband agreed on. And then she kind of, even a couple months later, kind of was reading all this research, and she was like, "Oh, I don't know that I don't know that I agree with what I did, and yet, I don't think that I can take it away, and she would be the only one." And I was like, that sounds so hard. And we are in a really tricky time right now because it's all changing and it's all evolving. So, I just want to make sure people are aware, like Delco Unplugged is not only for people who like want to take our pledge, right? That say we're going to wait. Delco Unplugged is for everyone who really want to learn how to navigate this new world. We have resources for everyone, whether it's like you want to talk to your kids about how to set new boundaries at home or do like digital detox days. It's like we really welcome everyone who's just like learning, who wants to learn how to maybe make a shift, right? So I just want to make sure that it's really clear that we do not want to exclude anyone from this. This is really important that everyone feels like, even if it's a really small thing, even if it's, like my 14-year-old and my 12-year-old are sitting at dinner and they're on their devices and I don't know what to do because it feels like we can't just have a family dinner anymore. Really want to help them say like, hey, here's how you can, think about resetting. You can, put everyone's phone in a basket. You too, the parents too, everyone's phone goes away, and you can all have family dinner together. And that's going to be hard in the beginning. But once you set a routine, then it becomes the new routine. And you can just take small steps like that. If that's one night a week, or if it's like pausing the router, like pausing the Wi-Fi. I know I see the Xfinity commercials and I'm like, that's smart. But even if it's just like really small things, helping or whether maybe another rule that I just heard of is no screens in the bedroom ever. Like if you're going to be using a screen, it has to be outside of your bedroom, because kids are having really, really tough sleep challenges because they can't put down their phones. And they're scrolling late into the night, and sleep is so critical for that age group. Like your brain is developing at such a fast pace. You need your sleep. And I think it's really, again, like the blue light, the need to like kind of continue scrolling and see what else is out there. I feel it too. I feel the pull. So that's just one thing I wanted to recommend. The other thing you brought up that was really, really interesting was this driving analogy. And I would take that a step further. I mean, like, again, I would say that, and there are people in this movement with me that would call smartphones and social media like the next big tobacco. Tech companies they have their claws in us. Like they have us. They have us by the throats. Like they know what we want, they know what we want to see. They figured it out and they have our attention and they have our eyeballs on their advertisements. And again, like I think being aware of it is really critical, but again, the next step after awareness is action. So it's like, once you're aware that you're kind of being taken for a ride here, you need to do something to change that. So, and that starts with just naming it. There are young people that are completely addicted to their devices. There are adults that are addicted to their devices. It happens at any age. We need to name that and talk about what we do about that. And again, like digital detoxes are really real. They really help. Um, it has helped me. So I think just even talking about it is really, really important. And these are the types of conversations that we have at events and in discussions just with our the parents that are part of Delco Unplugged.
I it's the discussion. It's the start. It's just the impetus of this big thing that I think Delco Unplugged is going to be. And I just see it for you and the parents and the kids that this is going to impact. It's only going to get bigger and the conversation's only going to get louder. You didn't even talk about 5G. I mean, you touched on the blue light, but the studies that are coming out with 5G and having phones so close to your body at night and the radiation. I mean, we can deep dive on this and go down many rabbit holes. I wonder, as you're having conversations with people and you're just maybe you're feeling a little down, or who motivates you? Who inspires you to keep going?
Wow. That's a really good question. I mean, the first answer has got to be my kids. They're so little. I want a different world for them. Like, I really want them to have the kind of childhood that I had, like the classic 90s childhood where I would leave in the morning in the summer and then I would come back when the streetlights came on. Like, my parents had no idea where I was, and I didn't have a phone or a smartwatch. They weren't tracking me. And I think what people say now is, oh, well, it's a different world. No doubt, it is a different world. Um, and it really depends on the community you live in. That's 100% true. And crime is actually way down. Like I think people have this perception of us living in a really dangerous place because social media makes it seem that way. It's just not the case. And I think that we really need to do more in our communities to create these like possibilities for kids to have more free play and independence and ability to just kind of like be kids and like go get dirty and go play outside. Like kids need to learn how to kind of like be bored and be like, well, what do I do now? I guess I'll go like throw rocks at a wall. Like crazy stuff that kids get up to because like you're a kid. Go like play with a stick and like build a fort in the forest in the thicket behind your house. Like, I don't know. These are just things that I just don't know that are necessarily happening. I think they are happening still, but I just don't see it as much. And I know that in talking to other parents, they want this too. They really want this for their kids too. So I just feel like the more that we can do to kind of like reclaim this for our kids, I really want to do this for mine. Um, that's what kind of keeps me going. And also the other parents that I meet and talk to all the time, like I'm really in close contact with these couple of moms out in Pittsburgh. We've kind of come together and we're working really on a statewide legislative advocacy piece of all of this. And I talk to them sometimes, I think, more than I talk to my own husband. We're constantly like strategizing and they are extremely inspiring. And they just have all of these big goals for really how to protect kids online. And they're really inspiring to me too. So it's like other parents, like really just trying to do what's best for kids today. We're raising the next generation of America. Like that's what we're doing right now. And we want to make it as flourishing and thriving as possible for them. And right now it just feels like there's a lot that's wrong. It just feels like not good to know that kids are struggling so much with their mental health and their focus today. And I think we just want to do everything that we can to make that better and to kind of like remove some of these barriers for them to like really thrive as human beings.
you touch upon, hey, just, you go out and you just have to be home when the streetlights come on. And we would be, we'd explore the woods near the house. And that's where our friends at Hiking Hound Adventures and what they do as far as introducing kids to the forest and to being out on the water and the things that we did with kids. And when you discover what's out in your environment, that becomes the fascination. Collecting frogs or lightning bugs and all the things that we did and playing tag and just getting into situations where you have to do conflict resolution. There's so much to being, learning to be a kid, learning to, grow up. And I can't imagine. Look, I mean, you talk about, hey, you grew up in the 90s, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I didn't have this technology as a kid. We had TV, and that was our, in a way, an addiction, with the cartoons and all that stuff, but nothing as the way it is now. I don't want to sound like, one of those old curmudgeons on the porch, saying back in the day and
I
me
say that all the
how I
time.
lived.
So I'm a curmudgeon.
but there has to be, we especially coming out of COVID. And I was listening to a podcast today, and the underlying conversation is COVID's over.
Mm.
I know COVID as the virus is still there, but our COVID mindset needs to be over. I
Mhm.
know we all struggle with the impact of what that has left, especially for kids. And, being, in schools and, you know, being in cubicles and masks and or being online and not being able to go to school and see your friends. We need to rebound from that, and we need to get back to those ways of life that you talk about. And that's why I think talking to you today, Alex, and learning more about what Delco Unplugged is so valuable, because you're going against the tide. You're going against the stream a little bit, but when you do, you're part in the water to allow other people to come with you, and I think that's really valuable.
I really appreciate that. And I totally agree. Like again, COVID was this insane event that we all went through. Sometimes it feels not real. I had my first child during COVID, and I felt like I completely became a different person. Um, and I also know that I picked up some unhealthy habits. Like I was online way too much. I was isolated from my friends. I wasn't seeing people enough. I felt like I was kind of canceling plans and not really wanting to like leave and get out of the house. We all got stuck, I think. And I totally agree. In general, like schools became really reliant on technology. I think we need to pull back from that a little bit. Research shows the more reading you do on a screen, the less you're actually like absorbing. And I feel like kids are looking at screens a lot, especially as they get into high school. They're on their textbooks are online, they're on their Chromebooks, and it's really kind of harming their learning. And this is what we know now, and the data backs this up. So I totally agree with you. I do think that a kind of a reset needs to happen while totally acknowledging that this was, you know, a a tragedy of unscale like unimaginable really levels. Like truly cannot believe we went through that as a society, and yet like it is really time to come back from that and like bounce back. It is happening, but I think there's more work to do.
So, how do people connect to you? How do they find you and get involved with Delco Unplugged?
The first place is on our website. That's delcounplugged.org. Come check it out. There's lots of great resources on there. If you're a parent of young kids, you haven't had to make this decision yet, please sign the pledge, join the community. Uh, and if you are not sure yet, or you're still deciding, or maybe you have older kids, this doesn't really feel relevant to you, but you're interested and you want to learn more, sign up for our newsletter. You can subscribe on our website on the same page that you'll find the pledge. We send out, I will not over email you, I promise. I hate that. We send them one monthly email, and then for anyone who wants to get more involved and come volunteer and just, come out to events, there's a monthly meeting as well for anyone who wants to kind of help out more. And then, yeah, we're going to be in the community. We'll be at the Swarthmore Farmers Market at the end of August 30th. We'll be at the Upper Providence Community Day in September. September 13th. And then we have our big fall event, which is a documentary screening of the movie Screenagers, growing up in the digital age. So we highly recommend if you have a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old, older, whatever, please bring them along. Kids free, parents $10 at the Swarthmore Pack on September 24th. So all of this info is on our website. And you can also find us on Instagram at Delco Unplugged and Facebook, Delco Unplugged Community. Any of these places will be sharing more information about these events, including the Alternative Device Fair, which I mentioned earlier. That's going to be in November on a Sunday. Do not worry, it is an Eagles bye week. I checked that with my husband before we made the date. But we're really, really excited for just like so much going on this fall. Just can't wait to connect with people. It's really exciting. I feel like it's all happening really fast. But the feedback seems to be really positive. So we're just really excited to kind of keep getting the word out.
You're out and about in Delco. You have a cheesesteak craving. You want to bring some cheesesteaks home to the family. Where are you going?
Oh, in Delco? That's an embarrassing question because I'm not sure. See, I moved from Philly a couple of years ago, Rich. So it's really tough for me to stray from gyms. But I don't know. You're going to have to give me your best recommendation, and I'm going to have to go test it out.
Well, Delco Steaks was a guest on the podcast just recently, and we are fans of them. But there are plenty of places in and around Delco that make great cheesesteaks. And our friend Jim Pappas of Cheesesteak Adventure, he's the one that really is the expert and can give you guidance. So if you want to, stray outside of your Philadelphia territory and have a good cheesesteak, he is the resource for there. Now I'm going to ask you, where do you go for your pizza in Delco?
Little Anthony's in media.
What do you
That's
like on your pizza? What are your toppings?
Oh, boring, very plain. My son loves pepperoni. I'll eat pepperoni, but I just really kind of like a classic cheese. I'll eat anything though. I'm not picky.
How do you describe Delco to somebody who's never heard of Delco before or who has not been here?
Mm, warm. I really feel like it is just a really warm, welcoming community. I I just I know I love just talking to people on the street. Everybody's will wave and say hi, especially in media. And I know it gets the everybody's hometown. That's the slogan. And we live in Rose Valley, so just 5 minutes away. But I don't know. There's something so nice about just like walking over to Cafe Sphere and chatting with the cashier and just chatting with people there and bringing your kids over to the play area. I truly feel like it's such a warm place to live and raise a family. So that's what's coming to mind. Warm.
You have friends or family coming in from out of town. You want to give them to or take them to that Delco experience. Where are you sending them or where are you taking them?
Let's see. I mean, when we host people from out of town, we usually take them into media to go to Spaso. That's like our one of our favorite spots, especially the beer garden outside. It's actually where we had our rehearsal dinner because we got married at the old mill. And so our rehearsal dinner was at Spaso, and we had the drinks before our wedding at Brick and Brew. So these are all spots that we are really special to us, and we love taking people there. But then we also really love going to the farmers markets on Saturday and Sunday mornings. So like Media Farmers Market, Swarthmore Farmers Market, these are just really like these are weekly staples that we love, and we love talking to people like vendors there and small businesses. That's really special to us as well.
Alex, is there anything we haven't talked about today? Anything you want listeners to know more about you or more about Delco Unplugged?
No, I mean, like, I think that what I just want to say again, like, Delco Unplugged, yes, like I think the original impetus for this movement was really helping parents kind of come together through this kind of shared pledge, right? The idea is that you can go on our website and see who else has decided to wait to get their kids a smartphone and give them social media. We really are more than that. And that's really important too. And that will continue to grow and more people are pledging every day. And that's exciting because, thinking about a new school year starting, a parent might want to know, well, who else? I have a fourth grader, this pressure is starting to build. Who else in my fourth grader's class is kind of on the same page as me and who can I rely on for support. And that will continue to grow. And I feel like we are much more than that now. We're really like this resource for anyone wanting to kind of change their habits around technology and kind of like come to grapple with how it's affecting them and how it's affecting people in their lives and their family. So we really are, we want to be something for everyone. Again, this is all volunteer. I do work full time, and so do a lot of people that help out with this. So we're doing as much as we can, like at late nights, on weekends. Again, I have young kids, so I want to be doing so much more, limited by time. Wish there were more hours in the day, but I'm so passionate about this, and I know it will only continue to grow because we have people in this community who really, really care about this topic, and so many people want to pitch in and help out and have these conversations. So we are for everyone. Come check us out. Even if you don't have kids, you'll learn something. And just really, really appreciate the time and the conversation today, Rich. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Well, thank you for being a guest on the podcast. Thank you for being a friend of What's Happening Delco. Can't wait to see the impact that you make in our community. On the socials, make sure you like, share, even comment on what's going on with Delco Unplugged. Do the same thing for What's Happening Delco. And let's continue the conversation and really impact the Delco community. So again, thank you for the tireless nights, all the work that you're doing, bringing people on to the pledge. And I think that at the end of the day, we are now really every opportunity is what you give to your future self. What you're providing is you're giving to the future of Delco and the kids and the families. And whatever impact that's going to be, I think it's only going to be for the better. So thank you so much for all the work you do.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. It was really great chatting.
Hey, it's Rich. Thank you so much for being a listener to the What's Happening Delco podcast. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to learn more about the people and businesses in our community. I have been a real estate agent for over 25 years, working with first-time home buyers to last-time home sellers. As a listener of the podcast, my gift to you is a complimentary 1-year American Home Shield home warranty. This is for buyers and sellers that I help. If you're looking to move anywhere in the United States, I have you covered with an amazing network of real estate agents. I look forward to hearing from you. My direct line is 215-313-3777, or you can email me at rshaneremax@comcast.net. Oh, by the way, I am never too busy for any of your referrals.